Thank y'all for coming.
Okay, great. So I'm Monica Langham. I am Director of Operations for Richard Beavers Galleries. Welcome. This is Conversations in the Gallery, and this series is going to be a personal platform where we have an opportunity to talk intimately with rising stars about their politics, about their passion, and about their lives. So we have with us today Lynthia Edwards. Hi. She is a multimedia artist. She is out of Birmingham, just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. She is a part of the team, the Richard Beavers Gallery team. Her background in arts is degrees in graphic arts as well as arts education, and then a master's in arts education from University of Alabama. Is that correct? Okay, great. So to start off, to get us loose and ready to go, I'm going to ask a series of rapid fire questions. So you will just talk about what comes to mind, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what's your favorite song?
Sun and Shining.
Okay. Sing us a couple of bars.
Huh?
Sing us a couple of bars. No, I'm joking. No, you don't have to.
Sun and Shining.
What's an adjective or two that best describes you?
Bright. Cheerful.
Okay, great. On your wish list, now the kids are covered, the family is fine. On your personal wish list, what are 3 things that you'd like?
Rest. A shopping trip. And a nice pair of jeans.
Okay. All right, so let's get a little serious now. You are sitting somewhere and you see everybody run. What are you doing?
Running.
Okay, macaroni and cheese, firm oven baked or creamy stovetop?
I'm gonna have to go with firm oven baked.
Oh, of
Southern
course.
style.
Of course. So, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
I already have it. It's to be female.
If the invitation says the function starts at 7 p.m., what time are you getting there?
9. 9.
Okay. Your mother's best friend, Shirley. Do you call her Auntie, Miss Shirley, or Miss Jones?
Shirley.
You call her by her first name, straight Shirley. Oh, okay.
That's her best friend.
Okay.
You call her what she calls her, Shirley.
Okay. And finally, what is your hope for our community?
That we can come together.
Okay, that's good. All right, why don't we start from the beginning? When did you first know that you were interested in art and that you wanted to be an artist?
I'm gonna say when I was probably about 5 years old. I knew that I had this desire to create. My father was a creative. He could sew, he could build things, he could draw, he could paint, and I wanted to do all those things that he could do. And so I just kind of took to him, and I would sit and watch my father create these workbook pages for us, learning how to write my alphabet, and he would draw us our own coloring book pages. And so that was just so amazing to me. And so I always wanted to do that. And by the time I was in like 1st grade, I was not really interested in learning how to read. And so I came across an Ed Emberley book. Is anybody familiar with Ed Emberley?
Ed Emberley.
Okay, so he taught kids how to draw based on the simple lines from the alphabet. And so you would learn how to create these little bitty interesting drawings based on the alphabet. And that is how I learned how to read. So once I learned how to understand those, you know, the alphabet, and try to connect it with the things that Ed Emberly was showing me how to draw. I just took off with reading. So I knew then that was like
so
what I was
5 years
do.
old.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Do you still have any of the books that your father drew for you, or the Ed Emberly?
No, but I do collect Ed Emberly books now.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I collect them. They're vintage, so when I see them in thrift stores, I automatically grab them up.
You're gonna have to look for that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your journey to this point. So at 5, you knew you were going to be an artist. What happened after that?
It wasn't my creative talent wasn't nurtured. I kind of got lost into the amongst the hustle and bustle of make the grades and looked over. Art wasn't offered in the school system that I went to. I went to like a county school, so art was not actually a class. It was just kind of like something you did on your own, on your paper, and it was more like coloring sheets. And so everything was just like, you know, academics. It was like make your grades, get your studies, and I really kind of lost direction. And so I changed my mind, and I was like, okay, I really probably need to pursue a career that's going to, you know, pay me. Like my mother said, you got to do something that's going to pay your bills. And so I started thinking, well, maybe I should be a doctor. And I decided I wanted to be an OBGYN. And then all of a sudden, I hit like 9th, 10th grade, and they did I guess it was a academic assessment or something where they do these assessments to try to figure out what you're going to be when you grow up, and it said I was going to have to work with my hands. So I was like, oh my gosh, well maybe I am going to be an artist. And then I had to take a SAT or ACT, and it was ACT. And when I looked at mine, I heard everybody talking about that score, and I couldn't even find my score. I was like, where's my score? Where's my score? And one of my classmates came over, and she was like, oh, it's right here. And I was like, oh, I probably need to be an artist. And so that was when I first realized that I needed to pursue something that was geared towards my passion.
So you left Alabama, right, and went to Georgia for school.
For school, yeah.
So how was that for you?
It was the best thing that ever happened to me. The first thing that happened though, before I went to college at the Art Institute of Atlanta, my mother sent me to London when I turned 18. She sent all of us, 3 girls. She sent us all to Europe for 10 days. She sent me to London for 10 days, and it was the greatest experience of my life. And when I came back, she did not even recognize me in the airport. I was a totally different person. She was like, who are you? My nose was pierced, my hair was cut. And I mean, I totally transformed myself in 10 days. And then I came back who I was, and went off to school. So that was like in March, and I went to school in like June.
Wow.
So that was my transition. It was like, there's no turning back now. Let's go.
So you secured the degree in Atlanta, and then do you immediately begin making art? Is that your full-time passion?
Oh, absolutely not. It was not a straight shot from hill to hill. Okay, so it was a couple of children along the way. Okay, so I was a teen mom. I had my first child when I was 17, and so then I had my second child right after I graduated from the Art Institute of Atlanta. So by the time I was 21, I had 2 children, and so I knew at 21, okay, I need to settle down because now I need another degree, basically, because with each child I had to get a degree because I needed more money. And with each child I had to get I felt like I needed to get a more solid career so that I could take care of them and provide them with, you know, insurance and things like that. So that's how I wound up getting those degrees. And basically settling down as far as like being an art teacher.
And so how was teaching for you?
It was beautiful. It was a wonderful thing. I taught children, and I was really excited about it. But there was still this calling. It was still something that in me that wasn't satisfied. It was just I enjoyed the creative process more than the children. So I felt like it was still more it was something else I needed to pursue.
So what was that turning point for you? So you were teaching, you know that art it's in your soul. You're moving along at this linear pace though, so you can provide for your children. But what happens that creates that spark for you to start doing it for yourself to then get to this point where it's here in front of us today?
Oh my goodness. I started teaching, gotten a job teaching for the state of Alabama, juvenile corrections. And I was teaching all males, and I taught that job for about 15 years. And one of the things that happens when you're teaching in corrections, you're doing the time with your students. And it's just like a family who has a family member that's, in prison. You're actually doing the time. Like, you're not there the entire time, but when you walk through that gate, you are surrendering everything. You're letting go of your cell phone. You're letting go of your personal belongings. And so all you have is what's in your mind, pencil, paper, da da da. So over the years, I started to feel like this is overwhelming, and I had to start creating ways to keep my mind growing, because I was feeling like I was stunting myself by being in there. And so I developed ways to create while I was there with those children. So it became not only an art program or art education program, but it actually became more so like a residency for me. So so it was nothing for us to start pulling out really big canvases, so that not only was I being able to create, but they were being able to actually learn by watching me. And I was actually being able to make work that was, I walk out the gate with, that I was able to sell. So, but it was initially my way to actually free my mind and go beyond those gates that I was actually behind.
So you were able to create work that you could sell. Do you remember your first work that you sold?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There were small paintings and miniature.
They were that small?
Oh yeah. They were literally, because I couldn't take anything really big, There were small paintings, and there were small collages.
Wow.
Things that I could just like put in my lunchbox. Put in my lunchbox, to take out, or things that would fit inside of an envelope, a small envelope that I could just walk out, in and out with.
Wow.
Nothing that would be, that would have to be searched through. Yeah.
And there were collages even then. What materials were you using, and how did you get to this point? And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the materials that you use in your collage work now.
Because you have glue sticks readily available. You have a Xerox machine. You got books in the library, magazines, limited supply of scissors. That's all you needed. It was perfect. It was perfect.
So you've grown beyond just Xerox copies of magazines. Let's talk about where these images come from and the other materials that you use. How do you come to that process?
There's a couple ways. Some of the images, bits and pieces, fragments of them, come from online images. Over the years, photos of my students, because I hate to just I don't keep photos. I'm one of those parents that you don't see pictures of my kids hanging up in my house. Because they're on a phone. I always keep phones. I don't sell my phone. I keep that phone. So in order to keep those photos or those memories of my children, I just print them off and put them into a piece of artwork, as well as photos of myself, my hands, my granddaughter's feet, my children's fingers, their ears, and bits and pieces of the kids that I've taught over the years. And so that's how they start to the actual facial features and the bodies start to come together. As far as like materials, as far as like clothing, I love thrift store diving. I've always been a thrifter, and so I go through the thrift store for maybe an hour, give myself an hour to just kind of relax. And as I'm going up and down the aisles, I tend to find different fabrics that may be attractive to me by color, or it may be a design that I find inspiring to me just based on childhood. Maybe it catches my attention based on the design that's actually on it, that's probably something from, I don't know, Sesame Street or the 80s or something. Just something that sparks a memory for me. And it's just a way of trying to keep up with things that I'm connected with. And I'll take a picture of it. And then it becomes my own resources.
So you say sparking a memory. Let's move to talk about this exhibition, Baptism Sunday. So tell us a little bit about this show.
Okay, so Baptism Sunday is about my experiences growing up in the Pentecostal church and going to river baptisms. And there was a conversation that I happened to have with a couple of individuals who told me they had never experienced a river baptism. And I told them I had never experienced an indoor baptism. Like, y'all had a pool? And I'm like, no, I never had that experience. And so they were like, y'all go down there in the dirty water? Of course. Where else would you go? And so what I realized was it was a dying tradition. And it was important to me to share the experience, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm 45 now, and I'm like, it's a dying tradition, and I'm 45. And I mean, it's a story, and it's a story for me, and it's something that I feel like I have the ability to tell the story, not only for myself, but for others who haven't experienced a river baptism, as well as keeping it alive for my own children, a way to keep the tradition alive for my own children.
Have you yourself?
Myself what? Gone to a river baptism? I just told you I did, yeah.
Yes, you've gone.
Yeah.
Did you actually get in the water too?
Oh, no.
No.
I've never been baptized. No, I've never been baptized. As a kid, I chose not to be baptized, simply because that's scary. It's scary to see all that water. I mean, you talking about like boats passing by. That was the same water that we fish in. So for me, I just thought it was just kind of scary. I knew my daddy couldn't swim. My daddy was a pastor. So I knew my daddy couldn't swim, and he was a small man. And so there was no way I trusted him to keep me from drowning. And then the other thing was, that's just a big responsibility to me as a kid, just taking on, being baptized. Just the idea of saying, okay, I'm going to live this life, and I haven't even experienced life yet. So how do I say I'm gonna live this particular life and I haven't even experienced it? And so for me, I just thought it was a lot of responsibility. And even now as an adult, I just think it's a lot of responsibility, and I'm just still not ready to do that.
Are they still happening there, river baptisms?
Oh, no, I don't think they have them.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't think they have them.
So your work, this and previous works that I've seen, they seem to center around young ladies. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, for me, as a girl, as a black girl, and a black girl being raised in the South, I felt like I was often overlooked when it came to the arts and being creative. I feel like that I had a lot of potential as a young girl, and I was not, when it came to school, I was overlooked when it came to like the gifted program. And I think that education doesn't recognize African American girls when it comes, well, at the time, didn't recognize African American girls when it came to being artistic and creative. And it's just time that we start pouring into girls, specifically African American girls. And I think that it's important that African American girls see themselves in places that we aren't often seen. Like we need to walk in a room and be like, oh, there I am, I can be here. And I want that for not only my daughters, which my daughters are grown, but, well, most of them are. Okay, so backstory is, I have grown children, I have young children. So my oldest daughter is 28 and my youngest one is 4. And so my granddaughter and my youngest daughter are the same age. They're like 3 months apart. So for them, I want them to be able to see themselves in spaces. And it's just this wonderful feeling when you see a young girl walk into a room and see a painting that she can connect to. Because I can remember looking in workbooks in school, and I would automatically go in there, go through like 40 pages looking for the black kid. Where are they? And I literally would be like halfway through it before I would find the black kid in the book. So I just think that it's important that we see ourselves.
I agree. Looking at your work, I know that there are layers to it, and there's a lot of meaning behind the pieces that you use, like the boots and the clothing that's comprised of materials that you're familiar with, as well as things that you've made. Can you talk a little bit about that? Okay, well, we'll start with the boots. Okay, so the boots are vintage boots that are, in most cases, they're Endicott Johnson boots, which were boots that were utilized during the war. And I connect those boots with the civil rights movement and the foot soldiers of the civil rights movement, being that I'm from Alabama, and that's like the cradle of the civil rights movement. And the fabric that the girls are wearing, as far as the dresses go, like the blue and the white fabric at the bottom, like the skirts and stuff, that fabric is prints from my paternal grandmother's house dresses. We call them muumuus. She just recently passed about 8 months ago. And so one of the things that I asked my father to give me was a few of her muumuus. And one of the ways that I was going to memorialize her, I guess that's what you would say, was utilize her dress print in some work. And so I chose to put it in this series. And then the pieces that look like this, the little quilted pieces, I just recently learned how to quilt by G's Ben Quilters. I was taught by China Petway, and I didn't learn how to quilt till I was like 42. And so those are some of the first quilts that I learned how to piece together, basically. So yeah, it's got a lot of Alabama roots to it. Yeah, it's beautiful. I personally like the trees. They remind me of trees that I would draw when I was in elementary school. Can you Tell me a little bit about the significance of those two.
Okay, so I really like the simplicity of children's drawings. I mean, I taught art education, and one of my favorite stages of children's drawings is that 4 to 5 year old stage where they draw the little tadpole people with the little round eyes, and all the arms have like little sticks with the little arms, little circle on the end, and hair is just like these squiggly lines. And in that phase, they tend to create trees that look like a circle and a line, or just a rectangle. And so the simplicity of that is just beautiful for me. Like, it doesn't have to be super realistic, doesn't have to be hyper realistic for you to understand that it's a tree. It's a tree. But one of the things that I did do in order to create the tree and give you a more realistic feel to it was I actually took photos of real trees right outside of my studio to make the tree. So yeah, I think that's why you like them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. However, there are 3 trees, so they show up in threes, and that's for the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, rather than placing crosses.
Yeah, so there's a lot of symbolism. I also noticed that in some of your work you use bold, sharp colors. They envelop the work, but at the same time, they are background, and it's like they set the stage for the story that you're telling. How do you go about choosing the colors that you use? And more specifically to this exhibition, why this color palette?
Okay, my color palette is strongly inspired by William H. Johnson. I look at his work and I go, why in the world would you happen to put those colors together? And I'm really inspired by him just because his work, I'm connected to his work because it tells the story of rural life. But the colors that he uses are very simple. And for me, I want the work to be simple, and I want it to be happy, because I see happiness in the works that he creates. I see, even though some of it's kind of, sad and about poverty, but I see happiness in it because it's the happiest life that the people that he's creating this work about are living at that point in time. So for me, I create those. I use those colors just based on the different pieces that I really like that he's created. So yeah, it's totally inspired by William H. Johnson.
So interesting. Who else inspires you? Like, when you knew that you wanted to be an artist, you started looking around for things that were familiar to you or drew you to them. What other artists did you look to as sources of inspiration?
William H. Johnson, okay. Romare Bearden, Charlie Lucas, which Charlie Lucas is one of my greatest connections because, Charlie Lucas he's so brilliant, and he creates these simple sculptural works, but they are very, very detailed, and they do all these different things. And to this day, Charlie Lucas can't even read, but he has the most brilliant mind, and he has inspired me so much, even as a kid, seeing his work. Wow. Which is an Alabama artist. So I think I started connecting with artists that I knew I was connected with just in my backyard first. And then it was more so like, oh, this artist is in my Alabama history book. And then it kind of grew from there. Okay. Like, this artist's work is on the front of my literature book. Who is this? And it just kind of grew.
And the method of collage, what attracts you about that? Why is this the medium that you've taken place in? Why are you holding up residence here?
Because I always wanted to quilt. To me, collaging is simply quilting with paper. Paper is the fabric, glue is the thread. There it is. That's all it is. And all the rest of it is just here. You're building the image in your mind. But it's the same, to me it's the same thing.
And what sparks the inspiration for you? Like from, you created the works for this show, and then I assume you take a little breather. What gets you going again?
Well, really, I never stop. If anybody follows me, I create almost every single day. Every single day. I never stop. If it's an hour or in between picking up kids, I'll run into my studio, pull what scraps are laying on the table, create a piece. And the time frame that I have between walking in that studio, and I do my best work in a hurry, y'all. Not like this, but I'm saying like the best ideas come from, okay, I just left lunch, I gotta pick this child up by 2 o'clock, let's get it. There it is. So, because that keeps me from second guessing myself, it's intuitive. I'm not going over here to the copier trying to find the perfect image. It's really what's left on the table. And that's collaging as well. You know, you're using what you have readily available for you, which is why I love folk artists. It's readily available materials, and you are creating what you have. Creating with what you have. And you're making this piece of art. It's just like, there's no need to order it. It's readily available for you. Let's go.
That's great. That's really good. So how did you and Richard connect? How is it that you've come to be a valued member of the team?
Richard, who is that? Crazy. Okay. So it's the pandemic, sitting at home, creating at my kitchen table. My children are running around crazy, and I gotta set the scene for everybody. So my children are running around all over my house. I just recently moved out of my laundry room. I'm talking about washer, dryer, folding table. Out of my laundry room into my basement, like 2-car garage. From there up, because it was cold, because it's not insulated. So I moved upstairs, because that was like, end of January, February, it's cold now. So I wound up moving upstairs, because now my kids are at home, because nobody's going to school. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I gotta work, I need to create. These kids are draining me, they're taking all the life out of me. So I'm at the kitchen table, and I'm collaging, and I'm producing these works all day long while I'm watching them. And it was either I'm working in the bed while, they're running around the bed, or I'm at the kitchen table while I'm watching them in the living room. So I create these works, and I'm just posting them daily. And all of a sudden, my work gets posted by someone else, and then this individual named Richard Beavers says, "Hey, contact me." What is this? Yeah. So I go, I don't know who this is. I don't know who Richard Beavers is. But anyway, long story short, he says, "Well, contact me." I contact him, and he says he saw my work, and I say, "Oh, really?" He says, "Yeah." And then here I am.
So just that easy.
Yeah.
Is it what advice would you give to someone who's interested in being an artist? What would be the best process for them?
To create. You just got to create and create daily. Keep creating. You never know who's watching. You never know who sees it. And you got to get it on Instagram. Like I was not a social media person. That was all new to me. Didn't really have a phone that was social media operable. I was an Android user. I just recently changed over. My kids bought me an Apple phone back in like last January, and so I just wasn't into social media. And so my friends, my relatives got tired of me just like posting things towards their pages, and so they were like, you got to go get your own stuff. And so I did, and finally, it just kind of took off. And now, I don't do viral stuff, but I have my own following, and I found out you just got to do it and do it consistently, and it worked out.
Yeah, it has. It's worked out.
Yeah, it happened.
What's something that you think would be important for us to know, something we haven't touched on yet?
That I'm bad to the bone.
We already know that.
Wow. I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know, because I think I'm pretty boring.
No, you're not. You're absolutely not.
I'm pretty boring. That I am a mama. When I say I'm a mama, like I'm a mama. Like I'm a mama to grown children and little children. I get up every day, get in the carpool line. I fuss at kids. I cook real breakfast. They eat like Oreos for like breakfast if they choose to. They eat Cheetos if they want to. But I'll cook breakfast, and I do the real mama thing. Yeah.
Your mom. That's cool. Oh. I know. You mentioned that in these images there are pieces of you and of your children. How do you feel about sending them out into the world? Like, do you feel any kind of ownership over what you create?
Absolutely not. I've never been that person. Once that takes over me, because for me, when I move to create a piece, it goes all through me, and I guess it's the spirit. Once I finish that piece, it's for me to pass it on. I've never had a problem loosing it, because the joy that it brings someone else, that's my gift to them. Same thing with my children. I can send them out into the world too. Go. I love you. Go.
The joy of releasing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been really, really wonderful. So at the start of the process, I know some of you have come in a little bit after we started. There were some cards passed out if there were some questions that you were interested in asking Lynthia directly. We have Miss Mitchell, who will pass around any additional cards and pens if you need them. And does anyone have any questions at this time that they've written down that we could collect? Quinn.
Hello. Good afternoon. Thank you.
So excited. First thing is, do you listen to music while you're creating your collage? Now, quiet.
Cause there's so much stuff that goes on here. It's a lot of noise in my head, like lot talking, all that go on right here. I don't even need it. It's so hard to focus on, like, when somebody's talking to me, because there's so much in here. So if ever I'm having a conversation truly with someone, I'm either looking in their mouth, because all the thoughts that I'm having in my head are occupying my undivided, my attention is taking it over. So I'm trying to focus. So no.
Thank you. Did anyone else have a chance to write anything down?
This is from my data. How do you know when a piece of work is ready to go out to the world?
Oh, so I talked about that spirit, right? So when I start, when I start, it's just like this energy, like I get hyper. It's just like going. But when it's finished, it's a calmness that's come over me. And I've recognized the calmness about it, and I've never been wrong. Not to say that at some point some compositional guru may come along and be like, this is not, they may come along some point in time and be like, this is not right. This is not the golden, the golden triangle, and the ratio is not. I'm sure that could happen. But emotionally, I've learned to recognize what my mind and my body says when it says it's finished. And that's when it's ready.
I looked at the work and it felt very Pentecostal, felt holiness, like the white and the head covering. When you were his culture, Phil?
Okay, what now?
What Pentecostal denomination did you come
from? I'm gonna say I can just tell you it was Pentecostal. It wasn't AOH or whatever. It was just Pentecostal. Yeah, that's all I remember it being associated with.
Do you believe now? Do you go to church now?
I don't go to church now. However, I transitioned into non-denominational because I still have that connection with the need to hear the drums, a guitar, clapping, a singer that vein pop out of her neck. There are still some things that I have got to have in, yeah, but the strictness of the way I was raised, that you don't have to live like that. Yeah. So I mean, I can be just as close to God with a pair of blue jeans on as I was with that long dress on. I truly believe that, So, yeah.
And this is a two-part question from Jasmine from Opelika, Alabama.
Girl from Alex City. Oh my gosh!
So, do you think where you come from, the South, Alabama, has had an impact on your ability to be an artist professionally?
Okay, I guess in a way I thought that originally I thought it kind of held me back because I had a lack of exposure in the beginning. Didn't have a lot of the opportunities that a lot of people had, like going to performing arts schools and art high schools and things like that. But the other side of it is being from there is what my work is about, and it's truth, and it's real, and it gives it texture, and it has a story to it, and it's an authentic story. I'm able to tell it. You know, I lived it, I can tell a true story just based on being from a small town. And people want to hear stories about small towns. It makes sense. So it's the story that you read in a book, and a lot of times people don't get to see those people. Like, what? You live that life? And so I get the chance to tell that story and make it realistic. So yeah, it's worked.
So you somewhat answered the second question, but I'll ask it like directly. What do you think Southern artists bring to the world, to the art world that's unique?
True life experiences, I guess. Texture to I guess to artwork. I mean, they just give you a unique experience, and they start to they illustrate they have the ability to illustrate what these stories, with the stories that people write about. Because everybody says, "Oh, I'm connected to the South." You know, we always hear, "Oh, I got family in the South. I read this book. Is that true?" Yes, it is. Let me tell you. So I guess as an artist, we get to, you know, tell the truth.
Not a question. Hi.
Hello.
I'm just inspired by your journey. Like, there's a circuitous journey and you've traversed the terrain in a way that is, you know, not traditional. You know, whether it's the occupation or the job you had in a corrections facility, and although you did you got some of your best ideas there, you know, having children early, you know, and not stopping, you know, like all of the things I'm learning, quilting at 42 years old, you know, all this, your journey is just inspiring. And then I've taken pages and pages of notes, but I don't think your journey is specific to a quilter or a visual artist. I think your journey can ameliorate and inspire, you know, any kind of artist or person that's out here thinking that I'm 35 and I got a child. Maybe I just need to stick in this mundane job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the story is just extremely inspiring. Just kudos to you, and the artwork is what it is. Like,
thank you.
And your ability to release it too into the world without like attachment beyond just creating the art and releasing it, giving joy to some. There's so many jewels. I just like wrote 3 pages of notes. I'm gonna go over myself, but just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I have a question.
Did you write it down? I'll read it for you. No.
It's a 3-part question. So there's one piece in particular. It's a triptych, I Baptize Thee. I think it's the largest size that you've worked in to date. But I know that there's a very specific story and inspiration to it. And there's some things that you've done in that particular work that you haven't done in any of your other works that you've created. Can you speak a little bit more specifically about that particular piece, I Baptize Thee?
Okay. So the piece I Baptize Thee has 4 girls in the piece, and they are they're created to what do I want to say? What would it be the word? Memorialize.
Pay homage to.
Pay homage to. Y'all, I lose words. Pay homage to the 4 girls that died in the church bombing during the civil rights movement in Birmingham. So that particular piece has 4 girls in the work. And in this piece also, this is the first time I've actually created males. And let's see, what else? Sometimes I lose my thoughts. I'm sorry, y'all. That's the artist in me. Some artists can rattle things off. Sometimes I get confused.
Like for instance, I know that like your hands. Are there
Oh yes. So my hands are all through this piece. There you go. So each one of those are my hands, and they're basically just created in some larger sizes, some smaller, and they are created just to kind of, the hands are supposed to give you the feel that these girls are going through a lot of different emotions about being baptized, and it's supposed to draw you in and get you to feel what they're going through as far as taking on this moment of being baptized. Anything else? Lead me through it, because you pulled everything out of me. Every vocabulary word that I have is gone.
So, I really enjoy it. Lynthia and I would do this all the time in these dialogues, and it's like Attica said, there's so much inspiration that comes from your story, your journey, but just the personal nature of the work, and how transparent and vulnerable you really allow yourself to be in your practice. And I just found it remarkable, like your hands, your arms, images of your children's faces, that are collaged into the work. The fabric that's used in this particular piece. So I just really enjoy hearing you speak, very specifically about the work and the intricacy of it and the personal aspect of so much of yourself that you put into it.
Mm-hmm. That's so well said. Oh, you want to hear more?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, was that supposed to lead me into, was that a prompt? It didn't work.
So why did you put 2 boys in it and have done that before?
Because I wanted to also create the scene of when my father did baptisms. My father was the pastor of the Pentecostal church that we attended. And so you have the pastor and you have the deacon. So.
Question, Solomon?
Not specifically. Actually, I do have a question. I know when I first came and I saw the show, I was moved, I was floored. You basically told me that you're really excited about moving into different mediums. I see quilting has been one, and you told me you were into sculpture too. So has that progressed any? Are you still really excited about sculptures?
I am really excited about sculpting. Yes, I have tossed around the idea of moving into welding and possibly moving into some small sculptures. So it's lots of possibilities. Stay tuned.
Attica.
Any other questions? Thoughts? Go ahead.
Specifically about the triptych. All the girls' eyes are closed. Some of them even covering their faces. But the boys, their eyes are very sharp. Like they're on this dude right here. Like, don't even try it. I don't even, and this brother here, like there's something there, and I'm curious to know your intent with that, the dichotomy between the genders, and what they're looking at.
Okay, so honestly, I was thinking in terms of my father and how many times he's done baptisms. So when you've done done things so many times, it starts to be routine, and it's not so much as you're caught up in the moment or the spirit of it. And so a lot of times when you have these baptisms, people are trying to capture the moment. So it's kind of like graduation. You know, I'm excited, but my mama want me to stop and pose while I'm, you know. So you've got the pastor who's kind of like, okay, come on, it's a moment, but we still have to go on with the baptism. So he's kind of looking out at the crowd like, yeah, whatever, we got to keep moving. However, the deacon or the armor bearer is supposed to be attentive. He's supposed to look out for everybody. He's supposed to have the pastor's back. So that's why he's like looking amongst the crowd.
He's attentive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so each one of these pieces, right, they're so large and intricate. Every detail is intentional. It's all so well thought out. And in particular, with the piece of going to your right, like, do you ever find yourself like losing motivation to go to the finish line? And if so, like, how do you work through that?
Oh no, I never lose motivation. Now, okay, I may get a little irritated because my children are probably skateboarding in the back, and the dog is barking. So I might be like, oh. But then I'll make that next move, and I won't second guess it, because I'll say a win is a win. And you keep going. Because the thing about it is, you can't hold yourself up, because if it's not the right move, you can always come back and fix it. You just got to give yourself time to get past whatever it is that you put down, or whatever it is that you're second guessing. So just go ahead and go with it. Give yourself time to come back to it, but you gotta keep going. Yeah. You're welcome.
Joe?
Yeah, quick question. Were most of the baptisms outside? Because I was baptized up here, it was inside. Up here, I guess, because of the weather and things like that. But down south, most of the baptisms that you witnessed outside?
Yeah, every last one of them that I witnessed growing up were outside. I never experienced one inside. Mm-mm.
You came late, Joe. You missed that.
Yeah, every last one of them. And actually, the place that we went to, it was they would call it the boat ramp. So it was like where the boats would people would back up and let their boats off and go out fishing. It also was the recreational area that my mother grew up hanging out at. So on Sunday, it was the baptism area. Saturday night, it was where they hung out and drunk liquor and beer. So it was broken glass and, wine bottles and things like that everywhere. And then it was like fish hooks and this and that. So it served several, purposes. So, yeah. But they were always outside. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Back to that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
the men's eyes are open, but the girls' eyes are closed.
Yes. For a couple of reasons. Being raised in the Pentecostal church, we catch the Spirit, catch the Holy Spirit at a young age. Catch the Holy Spirit, speak in tongues at a very young age. So it was common for you to be moved by such an event of being baptized, being caught up in the Spirit, and your eyes are closed and you're speaking tongues. You may be waving your hands, praying out loud. You're caught up in the moment. Other cases could be that particular girl, she's still kind of shy. She hasn't really chosen to be baptized, because in the South, you'll find that a lot of people were pushed to be baptized at an early age. And so you find that out when they die, it'll say baptized at an early age. It's because they baptized 12 of them during vacation Bible school. I mean, that's the truth of it. And so you just weren't really you didn't sign up for it. It was just because it was 12 of y'all that were 10 years old and y'all gonna get baptized. So it was so a lot of times it's like they're still kind of shy. You weren't really ready to be baptized.
So kind of elaborating on that and speaking to, at a young age, a lot of girls kind of being pushed towards being baptized. What was your personal experience?
They pushed me, but I pushed back. I've never gone with the flow. I said, no, I don't want to do it. And after so long, they stopped saying, you need to be baptized. Just always been a little rebel. I really have. I've always had my own mind and been different. You've never been able to push me into doing what everybody else was doing. So, nope. I didn't do it.
Great. Any other questions?
Well, just looking ahead a little bit. What's, do you have your theme for your next series?
No. I don't. But I guess, I mean, and I hate to say those of you who follow me, that just sounds like, I've had a few people to inbox me and say, is this a new series? And I don't think of it as new series. That's why I work on stuff every day, because that's where the series come from. But I've fallen on creating these works called Black Barbie. So it's these works of a little girl wearing like a 1980s striped t-shirt with a black Barbie doll head on it, and the little girl is supposed to be the black Barbie, but she's wearing a t-shirt that has a black Barbie on it. And so the various things that she's doing tells you about what black Barbie's doing. Black Barbie with lip gloss, black Barbie with a fingernail painted, black Barbie got new earrings, black Barbie with pink eyeshadow. And really it's all about me being rebellious, growing up Pentecostal. Like, we couldn't wear nail polish. So these girls, like, you'll see them, they have bright pink nail polish on. That's me, saying I'm gonna do what I want to do. Earrings. I didn't wear earrings until I was like 8. Didn't wear pants until I was like 8. So a lot of those, I guess that series is kind of telling, what the black Barbie's about to do now. So it's possible.
Yes.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, we came in late, so you may have already mentioned this. Do you do studies for these, or do you sketch them out before you start the collage?
No, I don't sketch them out. I have no idea where they're gonna go. I really don't. What happens a lot of times is the face, I'll build the face first, and the face just it's really more so like the background kind of comes together. No, the background comes last, I'm sorry. The face, I just kind of puzzle piece the face fragments together. And then I say, oh, that'll work. And I glue that face down, and then everything else comes around it. The hands are pretty much the last thing to tell what that little girl is doing. But that face is going to tell you who she is, her personality, and everything else. And then everything else is the last of it.
Attica, I have another question.
You mentioned one of the people who you admired, Charlie Lucas, couldn't read. You spoke about some guru possibly coming and critiquing your work about composition and stuff. And earlier on, you weren't sure about you weren't the best academic student early on and things of that nature. So growing into this world of the art world, not just an artist, but now in the world of the art business, how do you walk in your space, understanding that, there's a difference between academics of art and art?
I guess for me, okay, for me, I've said okay 1,000 times. So I've had, I don't know if this is going to answer because, you know, I'm all over the place. I'm very good friends with my college professors who I grew up looking at their artwork in museums before they became my professors. And now they come to Lynthia. And so they invite me to speak in their classrooms. They call me. They say, "Oh my God, you're doing wonderful work." Da-da-da-da. And for me to have gone through the academic part of it and then later finding out that I just totally trashed everything that I learned. I abandoned everything that I learned in order to get myself to this space is like, somebody owed me some student loan money. And I tell my friends all the time, those math teachers and those science teachers that always said, "You're never gonna have a job, da 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 da." I tell them, I ain't never had to use algebra or science on any given day, and we all got paid the same. So, yeah.
I think that's a very important aspect of your story.
Yeah.
Because asked earlier, one of your answers was, I just create.
Mm-hmm.
I just create, and sometimes when there are time restraints, I just do it, I don't second guess myself, and I make it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a wonderful aspect of your journey, and that's one of those things that is also that probably is inspiring to me. I can't speak for anybody else in the room, but there are moments when you second guess and you plow right through it, and now your teachers are calling you to come speak in their class.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Calling me to inspire your students. What? You do it. I want to get that honorarium.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Lynthia.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience.